and I'm here doing an interview with Stacy Schuerman, who is amazing. I love her energy. I just took one of her classes on spirit writing last night, and it was absolutely fabulous, and she's fabulous, and we're going to get started.
Yay, thanks. You're fabulous too. We're all fabulous. Yay.
So thanks for being here, Stacy.
Thanks for having me.
And I see that you are a spiritualist minister and teacher. And so I'd really love to hear a little bit more about that.
Sure, absolutely. So I have always kind of growing up, want to say, known that there has to be more out there than what you're just originally told. Like there's just so many things to discover, right? And I was blessed to be raised in a pretty open-minded family. And interesting enough, when I was, I think, 10 years old, my parents bought a restaurant here in the state of Wisconsin that is kind of known for being haunted. It's kind of one of the most haunted restaurants. And it was like built in 1848 and, just kind of had that great old feel to it. And when I was working there, or when my parents had bought it, and when you start working there, you start hearing the stories, and things would start happening or occurring within the building, and everybody was witnessing it. It wasn't just like one random person. It was like, a whole group of people that would witness something, or and that kind of always intrigued me. Like the afterlife, I guess, always kind of sparked curiosity in me. When I was very young, when I was in kindergarten, I lost my grandpa, who I was extremely close to, and kind of like had some interaction with him after his passing, and even kind of during, when he was, on life support and stuff, had these conversations, with him, not with my mouth, not with our normal five senses. And so, like I said, that afterlife just intrigued me. I lost my little grandma when I was 16. And again, same kind of thing, like a connection, an energetic connection that just never died. And I've been always open to it, if that makes sense. And then, of course, like, I don't believe in irony. So then my parents buy this restaurant and off we go. And then somebody says to me one night, like, hey, have you ever heard of Lilydale, New York? It's like this camp and they all talk to dead people. And I thought, what is that? And yes, no, I've never heard of it, but yes, let's go. And so we did. Like, we took off like a couple of weeks later, and we were there, and it was amazing. Like, I loved it. It was, those places, or, the right, when you meet the right people, you go to the right place, and everything just kind of feels like home and warm and wonderful. And yeah, so that did it for me. And that was, I don't know, probably 13 years ago now, I bet, And so I started studying the religion, the science, philosophy, and religion of modern spiritualism. And so I choose as my practice, my spiritual practice, spiritualism, which is, what basically we believe in some huge consciousness that some people label God, other people label universe, source, power. Again, semantics of words doesn't really matter to me. Just a bigger force, that we're all a part of. And that even when our physical body tires or dies, our soul or our spirit kind of live on, like, I really believe we're spiritual beings first, having this human experience. And yeah, so wow, that was a lot. Hey, look at all those words in one question.
That was amazing. I love that. So if someone like has never heard of the Spiritualist Church before, how would you kind of like describe it to them?
Sure. So there's actually churches in camps. Like, there is different organizations too, or like camps where if you're not necessarily into the word church, because I know sometimes people hear that and they get real like, oh my gosh, there's camps too all throughout the United States. And what to expect at them, I guess, and what to kind of know about them is we're really open in seeking your own truth, finding your own path. There's so many different paths to the same destination. And, one path isn't better than or higher than or more powerful than the other path. They're all each individually important. And, as the movement of spiritualism, started, it actually started in 1848, ironically, just March 31st is what we call that beginning of that movement of spiritualism. You would expect to see some form of like spiritualist healing, because we do believe, we have healing guides and teachers to help heal all aspects of ourselves. So, you would see some form of healing. You would see some upliftment, some sort of, the word sermon, lecture, inspirational talk, again, semantics of words, use what resonates with you, but usually there's someone there giving us encouraging ways to live spiritually. And then, what sets us aside from any other form of religion is that we actually do mediumship. It is actually a religious practice for us. So people in the congregation will get messages from their loved ones when they come to a spiritualist service.
That's so cool.
Maybe not everyone in the congregation, but definitely a handful of them, if not more, will get some sort of message from some medium, because, we believe we're all mediums.
Oh, yes, I believe that too. I believe everybody has abilities. It's just a matter of like the willpower to want to develop them and to go after and step out of your comfort zone and try out new things.
Exactly. And then love what you're doing, right? Because if you can love what you're doing spiritually and share that, that's just going to help other people open up and them share their gift. The world, the universe is plenty big enough for all of us to be spiritual, teachers, caretakers, sharers. There's room for all of us, and then some.
I love that so much. So I know you're a medium. What other gifts would you say are like up your sleeve? Like what other things do you do?
Well, so, it has been said that, psychic and mediumship kind of go hand in hand. They're different. They're slightly different. And it's important to know the difference. Again, not one better or the worse than the other. They're both equally as important. But psychic work deals with energy of what I call this earth plane, right? Like, so I'm going to tap into your energy, or I'm going to read your aura. I love reading auras, by the way. It's one of my favorite things. So I'm going to do that. Mediumship is tapping in with the spirit world, or those that live in that spiritual expression versus the physical expression. So psychic is physical expression. Mediumship is spiritual expression. So I tap into both of those. I utilize both of those in my work, and I do, like I said, I love auras. I love aura reading. I love teaching, like you took the writing class yesterday. Like, I love looking at different ways to connect to ourselves and to connect to source or spirit, guides, teachers, those kinds of things. So I love doing all of that. I do one-on-one teaching with people. I do group teaching. I travel to other camps and churches and serve there. And, sharing is caring.
That's incredible.
I should also say though, I'm a student. We're always a student. There's never a master. Do you know what I mean?
Learning, yes.
Learning. Yeah, absolutely.
With that in mind, could you talk a little bit about maybe when you first started developing your gifts and started having experiences and what that was like for you?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Like I said, I had some experience with my own loved ones when I was younger, like just kind of knowing that, even though their body wasn't with us, I still felt their presence. And that was really interesting, to kind of have in my, I don't want to say in my pocket, but, it was, I would just say like, okay, grandma, I need help today, or, and I would just kind of just put it out there. Do you know what I mean? And would end up receiving a response. And then, as in my practice, my daily, being spiritual, no matter what what you practice, shamanism, spiritualism, spirituality, any of those types of things really involve daily activity living. It's not just like, oh, I practice this on the weekends from 2 to 4. It's kind of like what we should be doing all the time. Now, don't mind me. I mean, I get wrapped up in my humanness, some days, but I work a lot with spirit. I was always seeing kind of those, like who's behind me, my name was getting called and nobody was there, those kinds of things. I'm very tuned in, I guess, or aware of looking for signs and symbols or feelings or emotions or, energy. Like I really use that throughout really my daily life, or, have you ever heard, like, for example, I work at a place that has been connected to spiritualism for a very long time. And there are days like I go in and I see all the pioneers, pictures on the wall, and I'll be like, hey, everyone, how are you? Just coming to work today, and saying hi, and, and all of a sudden I'll be sitting down and I'll hear, I'm like, okay, good, you're here, I'm here, we're good. Doing our part,
Yeah. Can you remember when you first maybe started communicating with your spirit guides and what that was like for you and how you strengthened that relationship?
So I think working with our spirit guides and teachers is so important and so underutilized, really. A lot of people skip over this part. They go directly to source, or they go directly to their loved one, or they go directly to, where I feel like, listen, we have a team that we built. Like, we built on some level a team of guides and teachers to help us fulfill this life as best as we can for our spiritual development. Why not use them? Because I guarantee you everybody has them, even if you ignore them, they're there. And ironically enough, when I first started this, when I really first decided, like, yeah, this is for me, like, I get it, I actually worked with my little grandma first, because I recognized her. She felt comfortable to me. She felt like home to me. And I was able to create and communicate with her very clearly. And she introduced me to kind of what the spirit realm is like, what that spirit world, Summerland is what, spiritualists call it. Heaven is what, Orthodox religion, afterlife, whatever again, semantics of words. You're not going to get me hooked on anything. And I remember her just introducing me to these people. Like, for me, they come in human form almost, because it's what I can relate to. And I was very first introduced to my healer, and I still don't know her name. In all these years, she's never given me her name, nor does she really talk verbally ever. She's just always very kind of just there in this gracious pose. But yet I feel like I communicate with her almost like telepathically. Like, I just know, like, like I know she's there. It's time to heal. It's time to work with healing energy for myself or for someone else. I use my, protector, my guide, my guardian, whatever, again, semantics of words. Like, I'll use him all the time. If I'm heading out somewhere, like if I have a long drive, I'm like, all right, dude, you're in charge. Don't let the deer hit my car, right? Put me in a bubble, right? Yes. I remember, I can't remember what class I was taking, but somebody says they use their parking guides. So like, if they're going somewhere, they'll be like, hey, get me a parking spot, save me a parking spot, there's just, we can have, there's not a finite number of guides or teachers we have, and we can get new ones as we develop, We can, it's to me like, well, and then I have a joy guide. Like to me, I have at least 4 top ones I always deal with. I have my protector, I have my healer, I have my joy guide, because let's face it, a lot of times we all need a little pick me up. And for me, I have like what we would call like a gatekeeper, or someone that kind of helps be the filter system. So that way, when I'm doing mediumship for others, I'm only allowing the highest and best to come through. And I'm only going to communicate with those that want the best for my client, or the sitter, and that I can understand and communicate with.
Great. Yeah. Oh, I love that idea of the joy guide. I've never thought about that or heard about that before, but that's amazing. I'm gonna have to find my joy guide now.
Yes, you do. They're great. They're great.
I was wondering about, you said you love to see auras, and I know that that's typically something that you kind of have to develop over time. So if someone right now is just wondering like, well, how do I see my aura or other people's auras? What would you tell them?
So I'm going to tell you, you have to find, and I'm just a firm believer in this, you have to find a way that works for you. And I read books about reading auras, and it's like stare at your hand against a white wall, like, until you can see the aura. And I gotta tell you, I never saw it. And I would get frustrated because I'm like, what do you mean? I'm staring at this. I can't see anything. Well, then I realized one day, to see the aura, I have to feel it first.
Oh, yes.
So you're always feeling energy. Well, then if you're feeling the energy, feel into it and imagine what it looks like. Oh, what's the movement of it? What's the color of it? And then from there, the more I started doing that, the more I started actually seeing the aura. Wow. In my mind's eye. And then I started to try to project it actually around the person, so that I could see the aura of the person. And I tell you what, that was a game changer for me. Because I stopped staring at my hand on the white wall, dying. I would stare until I see 15 fingers, but yet I could not see an aura. And then I realized, well, the aura is just is the reflection, or is the reflection of our energy. Now, I like the KISS method, which is keep it simple, spiritualist. I didn't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't. I love that though.
They say it other ways sometimes, but I like the keep it simple, spiritualist. I know that there can be multiple levels of the aura. I know there can be hundreds of auras depending on what your practice is. I technically just do it to see where the aura is of the person. Where are they at frequently? Like what frequency? Where's their frequency? Where are they at? How do I work with that? And I have to say too, just on another note, and I'm sorry, but I do get on my soapbox sometimes, the importance of really finding a way that works for you. Because, the other thing that I do, and I teach this class, I teach how to read auras and stuff, but I make everybody come up with their own color chart. Because I'm going to give you a prime example. I believe that spirit, or anything spiritual, will use what we know, or what we can understand, or what we would believe. If you believe in fairies, you're going to have fairies. If you believe in master teachers, you're going to have master teachers. If you believe in mermaids, you will have mermaids. Because again, it's all individual. Well, I don't know why people think certain colors should mean certain things. I mean, yes, there's guidelines, and that's fantastic. The majority of people might find that red represents love, but there's going to be another majority of people that red might represent anger or fear or whatever. Make your own color dictionary. And here's why. I went to college for art history. I'm a glorified crafter in the best sense. Okay. I'm no artist, but man, can I appreciate the art, right? And if you look at color from a pigmented, like, from an artist medium standpoint, what is all colors mixed together?
Black.
Yeah. So black is the most balancing color and healthy color for me.
Wow.
But black has a connotation of dark or evil or death.
Yeah.
And what is white? White in the pigmentation is void of all colors. So I am actually not a fan of white when it comes to my energy. It's not that I'm just Italian, because I am. And us Italians, we like to wear black. But I also like to wear black because to me, black is a comforting, peaceful color.
Yes.
And so some people, I've seen one person with a black aura, and it was a Buddhist monk. Well, probably like a Buddhist teacher in some temple in Bhutan, when I was in Bhutan, going into like Buddhist temples for art. Everyone else, we might have some gray in our aura. Again, gray's good to me. Gray's meaning you're trying to bring balance to your life. It doesn't mean I'm wrong, and it doesn't mean the person who sees white as the greatest color, purest color, because again, from a science aspect, white is all colors.
Yes. Yeah.
Black is void of color, but it depends on what you know. That's why it's so important in this journey to do what resonates for you.
Yes, and that right there, for everybody who watches this and listens, that is the golden piece of information that anybody could ever have with anything spiritual. It's all about what you resonate with and what is important to you. And I wish more people knew that, because everybody gets caught up in these like rules, and there's so many like gatekeepers out there that are trying to say everything has to be a certain way, and that's just not true.
Yeah.
I love
it. It just feels good, doesn't it? It just feels lighter, like, yes, let's have these guidelines. Yes, the majority of people find this way to be the best way, and that's fine. I'm not trying to change their mind, but I'm trying to make those people who don't feel like they fit in. No, I gotcha. Because yeah, you have to do what resonates, or you're just always going to feel like you're banging your head against a wall.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So my next question for you was, what is your daily spiritual practice like? So if there's somebody right now who's kind of looking into doing more spiritual things, but aren't sure like how to fit it into their day-to-day life, how would you talk about how you do that?
Well, and you know what? Good luck. I hope if there's some master guru out there in the world who can practice it absolutely every single day, I congratulate you. I try to remain optimistic. I always try to start, attitude, gratitude, right? I always try to start my day like today's going to be a good day. One of my own best friends, and though she might not think she's my teacher, she is, would always say, close the door on every day.
Yes.
So at night when you go to bed, close the door on everything for today. Tomorrow is a new day, and just take, step by step. I think meditation is really important, but I don't mean this meditation until your mind's blank. I can't meditate that way. I can meditate by coloring, or by doing dishes, or taking a shower. I do like to sit and listen to music and close my eyes and really get into that if I can. There are days, let's just face it, the real world makes it very difficult. So I listen to guided meditations because that gives me something to focus on. I just always am aware of spirit. So, I'm always looking for signs and symbols. Like this morning, I decided to call my mom, check in on her. She lives in Ohio. Now I'm doing this safely, by the way. It's Bluetoothed in my car. I do not have the phone up to my ear. She's Bluetoothed. And the car that pulls in front of me has an Ohio license plate. And I just said, yep,
Oh,
okay, universe. I was supposed to call my mom today. Good. And I just, so you look for those little things. And, I guess to try to surround yourself with people who think like you think.
yes.
I mean, don't get so, life is about balance. Life is about balance. We want to have our little tribe and we want to be open to those outside of our tribe so we can learn different things or different perspectives. Doesn't mean we have to take them on as our truth, but at least let us learn about it, be open to hearing about it. And, finding the people of like mind so we can have like these interviews or listening to these interviews. Listen, we're your tribe. Like if you're sitting there watching this, shaking your head going, oh yeah, reach out. You know what I mean? Reach out. If you're shaking your head, no, thanks for listening. Like it, and I think that's really important to start in the practice, and work. There's the big term. Practice. Anytime that you have opportunity, but be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up if you can't do it every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. I love everything about everything you're saying. It's fantastic.
Aww. Thanks.
My next question was, who would you say were your most important mentors as you were becoming a spiritualist and developing your medium abilities and all of that? And how did they help you?
Oh my, that's a really good question. I think I would have to think first and foremost, probably my like little grandma, just because, she hauled me off to Sunday school every Sunday, and she taught me the importance of faith, maybe not religion, but faith, belief, in something. So she probably was my first and most important spiritual. Now, she was Baptist as the day is long, still is Baptist in heaven, going to church every Sunday. I love her. But she really helped develop me. And then I have to say that I can't pinpoint just one medium or teacher that has been truly inspirational to me, because they all are in a way. I remember taking a few of my first classes, was Lily Dale, a registered medium, Carol Gasper, she's in spirit world now, Janet Nahovac from New Jersey, she has a spiritualist church, John White. I took a lot of different classes I still take different classes. I think my biggest partner in crime that I would love to call my partner in crime would be Debbie Mallison, who is she's just everything to me. She's my best friend, and very much so. We've both been on the spiritualist journey together. So she's my pastor in a way, and even though I'm a minister myself. And, and I've been blessed now to find my life partner, and, she's fantastic, and we inspire each other too. So, I just kind of find inspiration, like it's just, if you look for it, you'll find it, you know what I mean? And there's so many people I can think of and so many experiences that I can think of, not just in a spiritual way, but in a life forming way that helped us all develop. So
Amazing.
yeah.
So my next question is about, kind of when we start to awaken and we start to like feel our gifts and feel energies and stuff, a lot of the times before that happens, we go through what's called a dark night of the soul. And that's when things just seem like they're completely falling apart. And I'm wondering if you would like to share any experiences like that you've had where things like felt like just horrible, and then you realized on the other side that it all happened for your highest good and things were all meant to be that way. So just for those people who might be going through those dark times now and don't see that way out.
Yeah. I have to say, I for all of those people who are going through that, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And even for all of us now, if we're out of the tunnel, there might be a tunnel ahead of us. You know, we're here to learn. And the only way we're really going to learn is through experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, like the movie says, you know. And spiritual growth and spiritual healing is not easy. You know, I can be as positive as a glowing unicorn with glitter and lollipops, and that's what I try to be. But I am very aware that, you know, there is those moments, those dark moments, those times, you know. For me, I would say there's been a few of them throughout my life, you know, the loss of loved ones. It was really hard at first to understand. I definitely, through spiritualism, found comfort, you know, as a medium. Now I realize they're not far, far, far away, and I never get to see them again. I just have to focus and ask, and they're there. You know, we all go through kind of difficult relationships, you know, I think for me, I'm really in this self-discovery mode, and I don't know if we ever really truly get out of it. You know, like I've had, you know, I've made some really great choices, and I've made some really bad choices. And, you know, I feel like I'm in a dark end tunnel. Like I'm not like completely in the light, but I am definitely moving forward, you know, like even in those dark moments, you know, I think about some of the things, you know, that I've went through. I've been going through, you know, a partnership breakup is really hard. Deciding what you want to be when you grow up. And then if you're in a job and you realize you're not in it, it's hard. I don't know. I've always been that big girl, you know, so you have that kind of stigmatism of where do you fit in the world? And we so want to be loved and accepted that we sometimes fool ourselves on who we are for that acceptance. And, you know, it's hard because when you're in that darkness, it is hard to see the light ahead. And that's where I feel like having the right people surround you is important. Mental health is important. You know, mental health is part of our spiritual growth. We can't ignore, you know, our physical bodies. We can't ignore our physical mind and what happens within those spaces, why we're here for this experience, you know, so we have to find balance. But, you know, I've had moments, you know, and you know, what's interesting though? God, that's a good question. That is a really good question because, like, you know, I could say like, well, I was picked on in high school really bad, or I had a miscarriage, you know, I had a couple miscarriages, you know, I went through a divorce. Like I could tell you all of these kind of wow moments in my life. But yet when you actually ask me the question, I start thinking about it. I start thinking about all the ways I overcame it or it made me better.
Ah, yes. Yes. And that's important, like to see that on the other side, because when you're in it, you don't see that. But it's like as soon as you step out the other side, you can look back and see how all of those things changed you and kind of like leveled you up a little bit in a sense.
Yeah.
And so that's, I would love to hear about how you overcame some of those things.
Well, you know, my best suggestion, I always like memes. Like I always like, you know, one-line sayings, pick me up sayings. And I remember seeing a couple times, you've overcome your hardest day yet.
Yes.
And just those words have power. Even if you're in the dark, you still made it through. You're still here. You know what I mean? And that's really, and I think that, you know, I think how I came out of a lot of it, self-work, it's ugly, you know, meditation, being around the right people, I think is probably the most important, you know,
Yes.
because it's almost their support that helps walk you out of the tunnel.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, they say that you are like the combination of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So really pay attention to those 5 people, because if they're not if you don't wake up in the morning and well, hold on, let me put this a different way. If you were to wake up in the morning and suddenly be in one of these 5 people's shoes, would you be happy with your life? And you have to really think about that with your 5 closest people, because if they're not, then they could be bringing you down in a certain way, or preventing you from having the life that you really want. And I think that's so important for people to realize that, because sometimes we have these relationships that are born from a place where we weren't our best. And so the people that surround us are not the best for us. Yeah. And I think that's so important. So I'm really glad that you brought that up.
Yay! There's a reason why we're doing this.
Yes. Another question I had for you is, what is one question that you wish that I had asked you during this interview, and how would you have answered it?
Oh, what is one question I wish? Gosh, that is a really good question. I think for the most part, I think we've touched on a lot of the things that really are foundationally important to me. And that is embrace you and your spiritualness, because, I don't care your beliefs, the God, the universe, whatever you want to say, it is an expression of you. The universe decided to express itself through you. And how amazing is that? And thank goodness we're not all the same, because what a boring life we would be living, if we were all the same. And, I think that, we really touched on that. And to me, that's the most important, is that, if you find, of course, I love spiritualism. I love the whole movement and everything it brought for me. And that's great. But I also respect and honor all of the other different spiritual practices. And I think find yours and do it. And don't spend time condoning others on the way they do theirs. Just worry about you. And do you, and you do your practice in your communication with spirit and God, and allow me to do mine. And if we cross paths and we end up being similar, I'm so glad to find you. If we've crossed paths and we're completely different, I'm so glad I had the opportunity to learn from you or learn about you, and I bless you on your way. So I think to me, I don't think that would have been a question. I think we've done it. I think we were able to really, nail in what I feel is important in spiritual work.
I love that so much. And I just have one more question, and then I'll let you kind of tell everybody about some of your upcoming events and things like that. But my last question is, there are a lot of people out there, the dream kind of is to do this for a living, is to do spiritual work for a living. So what would your advice be to somebody who's maybe looking into doing that? And what kind of personality traits and things do you think are most important for somebody in that field?
So I think that what's most important is work, and more work. You will never master your craft, but you should be living your craft every single day. Because again, being spiritual, for me, being a spiritualist minister, medium, teacher, I don't take off and on that hat. I wear it 24/7. Doesn't mean, and there's the most important thing, be real about it, because, I am no better than anyone else, and I have my days, and I will not be perfect, and I will mess up. And, the thing is you have to be kind, kind not only to those around you, but to yourself as you go through this process. Work on self-love and self-confidence, because it can be a dog-eat-dog world out there, especially in this type of arena, because, at least everybody's passionate. Sometimes what I think might be overly passionate, but hey, they're passionate about their truth, so that's good. And really just, I personally practice a lot of natural and spiritual laws. Spiritualism teaches those. It's all about how the universe functions. And I truly believe like in the law of attraction, in the law of vibration. And so as you are, you will attract. And, if you're not attracting or if you're not happy with what you're attracting, don't look outward, look inward.
Yes. Oh, that is so important for anybody listening. That right there is so important. You're never going to find what you're looking for out there. It's all in here.
All in here. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
now for anybody who is listening, how can they find you if they want to come to you for healing or mediumship or classes? What have you got going on?
Sure. All right. Sounds good. Well, I do have a website. It's spiritualiststacy.com. Pretty simple, or you can find me on Facebook. I do online and in person. So, I always say, check out, like I said, my website or my Facebook. That's probably how you found the class. I would assume, is through that at first. I do online monthly development circles. I do in-person classes throughout the United States. Like I said, I travel to camp, so I'll be on the East Coast, I'll be on the West Coast throughout the summer. Reach out, just reach out. If you see, if you have questions, if you're, uncertain about something, I welcome the contact, because if I can't do it or if I don't do it, I probably might know someone who does, just because, right? We start to surround ourselves with spiritual people. So, and I'm going to be starting to do retreats also. Yeah, I was blessed by this beautiful woman that I can consider my friend, has some beautiful property right on Lake Michigan, just a little north of Milwaukee. And I have the mediumship retreat that we were doing that we are doing in April is full, but we plan on doing more throughout the summer, and those details will be found on my website. So,
and I'll post a link to your website underneath this video when I post it, so people can find you.
Oh my gosh, you're amazing. Thanks.
You're amazing. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing all that about your life. So many people just need to hear other people's stories, and I'm really happy that you were willing to share yours. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And it's a pleasure meeting you, and it's a pleasure to begin our journey into this blooming friendship. So
I agree. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, you have a good night, and I will post this video as soon as I get it all edited and ready to go.
All right. Thanks, Claire.
Bye.
All right. Bye.